Okay, I get harassing texts. Let me put this over here from the stalker, from his minions. He's smart. He does not incriminate himself. He has the police department and a multitude of other people scheme and do the things that he asks. I'll read what this says. It says, Kiana, you couldn't possibly believe, not even on these days you have the worst delusions, that Jason once wanted to be with you. He wasn't stalking you, nor was he communicating with you through fake pages. Kiana, that man wouldn't have given you a second look had you not bombarded your crazy ASS self into the networking event. You were on his page begging him to have another one. Didn't it dawn on you that it was weird that he couldn't be open with talking to you in any capacity? You're not that crazy that you'd allow a man to keep you a secret, are you? Also, I know DAMN well, you don't think Michaela would be better off with you. You're freaking nuts. I wish, like HEL, a double hockey stick, you'd accept the mental assistance Right Care offers. You really need it. Michaela, basically my family, are all tired of you. Your SHIT. Get your SHIT together or else you'll be done forever. Those police are going to lock you up, foolish ASS. Leave them people alone. So since I'm forced to do my, and this is what they gave me at the rally. They don't want me to have information, even at a domestic violence rally. So I'm blamed. Salvation Army set me up with the police department, and I was detained there. They blatantly lied on camera footage and said I was blocking traffic and was a threat to myself. I had a lot of things going on that week. People were supposed to be finally helping me, and the police department interrupts any ability to escape their abuse. They're being bribed they're enlisted in my abuse and they enforce it for profit. So this is what they gave me. It's really vague. It doesn't have anything on escaping abuse that the government is enlisted in, as they've done this for years. You see on other videos, they want me to have homeless resources. The Frank Crowley building blatantly lies. They're trying to make me believe that that person has to have a jail sentence to, they're setting up catch-22s to deprive me of services. They blatantly lie. And then when I call these numbers all over the United States, since I speak with scammers, they cover for it. And they don't want to give me procedure. So I'm calling the domestic violence hotline so you can see what I have to have been through for years. So police are supposed to investigate all these parties that are related to him that call me, text me for years. They will not. He don't have to call personally, but the police pretend like they don't know that. He can have people call and still be held responsible. But police refuse all investigation. All these reports that you see on here are not investigated. There's over 100 and something reports all over. I used to get threatened 3 or 4 times a day. They wanted psychological abuse. It stopped when I started to record. Because no one would believe that someone would threaten you that you don't know 3 or 4 times a day. That's really mentally ill. To enlist someone 3 or 4 times a day to terrorize someone, strangers, threats, in person. He didn't just waste time over the phone. It was in person. He set up people to threaten me.
At the end of this call, you'll be transferred to a brief survey. We'd appreciate your response. Thank you for reaching out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
National Domestic Violence Hotline. Are you in a safe place to talk?
I guess this is as safe as it will get.
Okay, well, we are a 24-hour anonymous, confidential crisis and referral line for violence between intimate partners.
Okay.
7, I have just a few
Oh, you don't help with stalking?
Does it involve an intimate partner?
Oh, just stalking in general. It has to be an intimate partner. There's not women that needed to escape a stalker on this hotline?
Well, there are certainly some resources for that, but our line is related to intimate partner violence. So is it someone you've had a relationship with?
It was online. It was online.
Okay.
So if
this is someone you had a relationship with, I can certainly speak with you and give you some resources, perhaps.
Okay.
What city and state are you calling from? If you want to share that.
I got referrals. I saw referrals online.
Okay. Have you called us before, the national hotline?
I have.
Okay. May I just real quickly ask your age, race, and gender for our statistics if you want to share it?
Black and female.
Okay. And your age? Call today. What's been happening?
Yes, I've been getting terrorized. The government is enlisted in the abuse. I have multiple false arrests in the teens set up by the police department. They entice my provider to allow them to control my phone. It's shut off in emergencies. The text, the data. At AT&T, they just cut my phone off altogether, and I paid the bill 2 times that month. They said they didn't get a bill, and it was a blatant lie. And they just would not give me services, period. I had to go to another provider. They claimed there was an issue with the phone. I bought another phone, and they still would not cut it back on. So the government is
And
controlling all my
how does
phones.
this relate to the person that was doing the stalking?
I guess she misunderstood, as they've misunderstood years when I called this number. It may have something to do while the police were waiting at my providers, and then they entice the businesses to help enforce whatever's going on with my phone. But my abuser set this up. He's enlisted the government in his abuse. So I call years, and the people that I'm calling are covering for all the abuse and sabotage and assistance, and they've done it years.
How long has this kind of thing been going on with this person?
Years.
What's this how that's happened?
Yes.
Getting into your computer and things like that?
Right. Hacking, counterfeiting calls to sabotage. The intent is just to make people believe that they're real calls, but they're counterfeited. So the people sabotage assistance. The credit card provider is tried to scam me out of funds, and I have been defrauded out of funds by these scammers. But the government enforces it, so I don't escape their abuse. So I've called years asking for help, and they all cover for the crimes and sabotage assistance.
How long had you been in the relationship with that person initially?
We've already discussed it. I thought this went on years. Did you need to know a specific date? You have to have a specific date.
Were you in an online relationship with someone before the stalking started?
I don't know. I have no clue. I've been locked into apartments, hotel stays. My life has been rather odd. My apartment complex would not get me out. I had a lot of plans, a date, and different things going on for that weekend. My kids were gone. I always had my kids. So it was really unusual that I got locked into an apartment. They were fairly new. So I've never heard of anyone getting locked into an apartment, and the emergency maintenance would not let me out till Monday.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's Spring Oaks and Box Springs, Texas. They would not let me out. I think it's now considered mesquite. And, that's a fire hazard for me to be trapped into an apartment a whole weekend. And then I got trapped into a hotel stay, and then I realized it was deliberate, so I called the police. And they said that they didn't have time to let me out. I had called a Uber, and the Uber was there. So I tried to leave, and I was locked into a hotel, and they told me they did not have time to help me. I waited like 20 minutes. They still said that they were busy, so then I threatened the police. They let me out. Then they went ahead and gave me a free stay. Now the police department is enticing the people they set up to terrorize me to not give me compensation for the abuse they put me through. So they do things like that, and then won't give me a remedy for the experience that they deliberately caused.
And the actual person that was started all this, is that person still trying to be in contact with you also?
This is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Do you mind giving me your name?
My name's Devin.
Devin. Okay, so does he need to be in contact if he's setting up the police department to do it in apartment complex?
No, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if that person.
No, he doesn't. I thought I mentioned it. He does not do it himself. He has other people do the dirty work. There were voyeurism crimes in the past with a camera in my environment that the police would investigate. I told them that I suspected it was still going on now because I have strange experiences, and they still won't investigate it. I told them they keep on breaking the law. I keep reporting voyeurism, and they will not investigate it. Period. As well as 100 and something other reports.
And is this person getting into like computer access for you and things like that?
Yes. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time for years chatting with a lot of people, and they really are interested in knowing the situation, but don't really provide a remedy for years. They just want me to vent and not forget the reason that I actually call the organizations and the hotlines.
Well, I can certainly give you. I mean, I can give you some resources for stalking and things like that, where you might be able to see, if there's some other access and things you can do legally. Have you ever been able to talk to an attorney or anything like that?
Well, what offer services do you offer there to assist?
Well, we're a referral line, as I said, so we're not direct service, but I can try and give you some resources related to stalking.
Well, what about the safety plan you're supposed to do, and that I've been deprived over years every time I call?
Well, as I said, we try to do that along with.
They've never done it. They always cover for it for years. You said that you referrals, so you weren't being honest.
Right.
There's safety plans.
We do referrals and we do crisis intervention. So that's what I'm able to do.
They wouldn't do it in the past, and now you weren't doing it today until I asked you. So
partner violence. So I can certainly give you some information, some places where you might be able to reach out for some support also. That's what I'm able to do.
Okay, well, while I have you on the line, before we get to that, can you give me your responsibilities of this call? Because for years they've deprived me of their responsibility and passed the buck like everywhere else I go.
As I just explained.
Okay.
We try to do crisis intervention and safety plans. Our main goal is to help people get connected.
Okay, well, can we go into that?
That's what I'm able to do.
Okay, can we go into that?
Yes, do you have something to write with to take down some information?
I do.
Okay. One program that I'm wondering about, there is a National Center for Victims of Crime.
Oh, we're deflecting, ma'am. You're supposed to help me set up a safety plan. You heard all that information, and you don't want me to know an avenue to protect myself, as no one has wanted to years, even at the domestic violence rally.
This is why I'm giving you this information.
I don't understand why you won't do your job task, as they haven't in years.
We can find out what the resources are.
Why don't you want me to know, ma'am, how to protect myself on the National Domestic Violence Hotline?
Okay, caller. I'm trying to give you the information that I can. And if you're also looking for other places to stay to be safe, I can let you know what domestic violence programs are coming up in your area.
So you refuse to set up a safety plan with me? You're refusing that?
No, ma'am. That's what I'm doing by giving you this information.
Oh, okay, I thought you were supposed to do a safety plan.
Knowing what the resources are, so you can perhaps get to a safe place, find some counseling support, legal advocacy. If it's not safe for you to be where you are right now, that's one of the things that might be helpful for you. So I'm happy to give you that information and things like that, so you can, work toward getting to the place of safety.
But I mean, why won't you give me the services that you offer before you forward me over to someone else, ma'am? Why don't you give me the services you offer? You haven't given me. What about protection orders?
That is what I'm trying to say. The domestic violence programs. You're looking for a protective order?
I'm blacklisted from all of them. I'm not being heard, ma'am. The police interrupted a whole victim's domestic violence rally. I don't have rights. And you're evidence of that, this experience for years. But I want to hone on in your responsibility for setting up a safety plan. Why would you deprive me of that? It's been deprived years, ma'am. Representatives started arguments and wouldn't help me.
So we're not legal advocates here, so I can certainly try and help you know what domestic violence services are in your area. So
That's not what I was asking, ma'am, because I'm blacklisted once again. I'm not being heard. The police interrupted a domestic violance rally. I'm just not quite sure why you are depriving me of the services you offer. There's that
additional resources, that perhaps you haven't tried yet to find some legal avenue for yourself to do.
I just don't understand why you're depriving me of the services you provide on this hotline. What about can you tell me the steps of a protection order? What do I do to get a protection order, stalking and all of that? Because they don't want me to know when I call this hotline. I don't know why they do that and be rude for years.
As I said, we're not legal advocates here.
But you're supposed to do a safety plan, ma'am. You're supposed to do a safety plan along with Ma'am, you do offer other things besides referrals. You didn't know that? I need to do a complaint because I've called years, and all parties do is cover for crimes and lie and sabotage assistance for years.
I can give you some information.
I want to speak with a supervisor because you're not setting up a safety plan. I would like to speak with a supervisor because you're not doing your job task. You're supposed to set up a safety plan.
Caller. Okay. What is it you're wanting to do right now in terms of your safety? Are you needing another place to stay?
The police is involved in my abuse, and I don't know how to escape it. The government is enlisted in my abuse. and they will not do police
Well,
investigation.
one program
The
is
FBI,
perhaps
the
like
DOJ,
the
everywhere I
option.
go, the police shut down a domestic violence rally. In each organization I go to, I was arrested at New Beginnings in Garland, Texas. After the arrest and assault there, they have blacklisted me from any help. I was gone in Texarkana, reporting my abuser. They refused any advocacy or assistance at domestic violence prevention in Texarkana. I left reporting my abuser. They put my items outside in a box while I was gone for no reason, and then denied me further entry. If the
I
domestic
do
violence
see a program in
organizations
Dallas
and
called the
the
Dallas
National Domestic
County
Violence
DA's office
Hotline
that helps with
and
the
domestic
protective
violence rallies
order.
are covering for your abuse, that does not may have me feel safe.
Caller,
If I'm denied all, I don't. It's making it hard for you to help me, ma'am, because you want to allow me to talk and state to you what my experience is. If domestic violence rallies, all these people are conspiring with the abuse and depriving me of service, including the National Domestic Violence Hotline. What kind of position would that put one in?
we're not denying you anything. I'm trying to give you some information. One thing
We
I
haven't
see
set up
here
the
is it
safety
goes out to
plan, ma'am,
Dallas
as
County
well as
DA's
any other
office. Their
representative
victim
for years. They've
position.
all
Might
been
that be a
depriving me of
helpful number for you
assistance.
to have?
I'm not being heard, ma'am. You're supposed to set up a safety plan, and I've been deprived of that for years on this hotline.
Caller, part of that safety planning is to help you know what services are there that might be able to assist you.
But can we redirect to what I'm asking for and then get to that, or do you have to disregard me and not hear what I'm stating?
Caller, I've been listening, and I'm trying to offer you some additional resources.
Okay, well, let's get the resources, ma'am, as you've done yours dismiss. Go ahead, ma'am. What are the resources?
There is something called the Dallas County DA's office. Their victim.
I'm not being heard, ma'am. They pushed and shoved me. I don't have rights, ma'am. You're evidence of that, as well as every other avenue I take.
I don't.
I can't use them. I can't use them. They lie and
Okay.
pushed and shoved me and forced me to leave.
You might want to try the Victim Connect Resource Center.
Okay.
And I'm happy to give you that number. Just a moment.
I like places in person, ma'am, because I speak with counterfeits, including calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
This is a resource. I mean, it's a resource line, so it's a national line, so it's not going to be. You can speak.
Okay, if I'm on a resource line now, why would you guys repetitively give me other resource lines if you're resource lines? Are you trying to sabotage my assistance, man? You're a resource line.
This is what I'm. Okay, that's why I'm giving you this resource.
Why would you give me a number to another resource line if you're a resource line?
Because we're not legal advocates. So legal advocacy was one of the things that you mentioned that you're looking for. And this is a line where they say they talk with victims of crime, and they try to listen compassionately, and I don't think they take personal information. It just says that they're, let's see, it says where crime victims can learn about their rights and options confidentially and compassionately.
Okay. Well, can I have the number?
Try to connect
sure, ma'am.
Contacts with the local referral.
Okay.
Would that be a helpful number for you to
have? I don't have rights. So what's the number you'd like to give me and deprive me of services that you offer? What's that number?
This is some of the services.
Ma'am, what's the number, ma'am?
So
multiple parties taunt and violate and contribute to psychological abuse and schemes. So you're giving me the number. Can I have it?
Their number is 855-484-2846. Would you like their website also to find out a little bit more about their program?
Okay.
Their website is victimconnect.org.
Okay.
It's the Victim Connect Resource Center, so it's victimconnect.org. I was just going to say also that with the National Center for Victims of Crime, do you have access to the internet, or can you get to a public library where you have some safe access?
Okay, what are you referring me to?
Well, the National Center for Victims of Crime has a stalking resource center as part of their website. And I just thought that might have some additional information for you.
Okay, so I have told you on the whole National Domestic Violence Hotline about false arrests, assaults, and police have even interrupted my access to food, shut down a domestic violence rally. So what are your suggestions in the safety planning? Are those the things that you're willing to give me, the victimconnect.org?
Right, so you can find out if there's some other resources for you, so you can find some safety. That's what I'm able to do.
Okay, so you're denying me all the other assistance that you provide on this hotline as you've done years.
No, ma'am. As I said, the safety planning that we do has to do a lot with people knowing what resources are so you can get some direct service. So that's a lot of the safety planning that we do is helping people get in touch with those local programs.
But you haven't done the other safety planning. You haven't told me about protection orders.
As I explained, we're not legal advocates. That's a very individual thing by state. So the local domestic violence programs are the ones that often help with that, as well as just, you can also go directly to the county courthouse rather than work with a domestic violence program, because that's where all of the protective orders are filed. But aside from that, because it differs so much from one state to the next, that's where we suggest people get information.
Okay, so the only thing that you're willing to provide me was this Victim Connect number, and that's it. That's the only resource.
Local domestic violence programs.
Okay, and I'm blacklisted from there. You don't want to give me like any legal knowledge or any education on the perpetrator, like you're supposed to,
we're not legal advocates. We're not legal advocates here, and it differs a lot from state to state. So that's why we give local information, so you can find the local avenues in your area to those kinds of actions.
Well, see, everywhere I go, they pass the buck like you, ma'am, and they deprive me of the services that they're supposed to offer. You're not doing the proper job. I'd like to escalate to a supervisor, ma'am. Ma'am, are you depriving me of the right to escalate to a supervisor? Because I've called for years and they have sabotaged assistants, hung up in my face, and mistreat me. Ma'am? She hung up. Hello? Since they deprive me of assistance, I don't really know what these places they are told to be very vague. But so they're supposed to give education, safety planning. But they're scammers. That's why I recorded my call. So when I started to record my calls, they sent someone to the sober living place I was forced to live in with no addiction and had someone steal my tablet.
Someone will be with you shortly.
And then I was at court, and then the bailiff stole my tablet until I reported it, and then when I reported it, they put me out the courtroom, and then he gave it back. This is how extreme this corruption is. Have you ever heard of a bailiff stealing someone's tablet? And the court covers for it. And they're enforcing that ticket for me calling 911 reporting the government's abuse and conspiracy for the child abuse. They are enforcing that ticket that I pay that. They hung up. They didn't answer. Let me show you that I've called. The stalking is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. 2 times. They just hung up. They've been doing this years. I'm calling the 3rd time. This is what happens when the government can be enlisted in abuse in 2022. Knowing full-blown well, no one would ever believe my story.
Are currently busy, but someone will be with you shortly.
But as I stated prior, if reporting the government's crimes makes you sound mentally ill, is that a threat to national security?
Gracias por llamar a la Línea Nacional contra la Violencia Doméstica.
So then they put you on punishment for calling back. Now all of a sudden the wait time is 15 minutes. So I've waited these whole times, like 15 minutes, and then after 15 minutes, they'll say 20 minutes. That's why I knew something was wrong.
And apologize for the wait.
So all of a sudden now,
wait time is about 10 minutes.
Okay, it was 15. This is what they've done years. So they'll put me on punishment for repetitively calling to get the services they offer, even on the phone. Have me on hold. They say the wait time's 15 minutes. Then it will change after 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And I've held on all that time. Then they play games, hang up. Years of this. How do we know it's happening? Police don't typically wait at someone's cell phone providers and then enforce them to leave at 3 different locations in one day. So after they incriminated themselves at the first location, I call the police on my provider. But they're behind it, so they cover for it. I call the police because my phone was shutting off, all this crazy stuff, and they would not render any assistance. And I'm paying for these services. So the police came, pretended like they were going to help me, but since they set it up, they gave me a criminal trespass and wouldn't investigate it at 3 locations in one day. that I never did get my phone cut back on with AT&T. This is a substantial lawsuit, but they deprived me of legal representation to out of criminal activity. They just didn't list anyone I try to get legal representation to from to deny it.
5 minutes.
Okay. Since I'm recording, it's going down. The wait time's 5 minutes. I don't know if you heard that. So, you see how long these calls are drawn out? It's deliberate. They play games intentionally. It's deliberate psychological abuse. Now that I realize a pattern, I try to redirect the call so the games they don't go on as long. But I would spend hours and hours to not get anything resolved. And then they'd hang up and taunt and violate in the process on these phone calls. How do they taunt? One party, I called Austin and I asked him because I told him I was having a hard time getting the interference with child custody, crimes investigated, as well as the people not reporting suspected child abuse. They told me that those aren't charges. No one can get those charges. That it's not possible. No one investigates it. She had me on hold a long time.
Your estimated wait time is about 1 minute.
So then another party recommended, I said the police were denying me law enforcement. And they were trying to be funny and said, did you speak with the fire department? I said the fire department. Yes, the fire department. If I'm calling it like the FBI or the DOJ and places like that, they don't play games. They don't even con. They don't want me talking to them, period. So if I call the FBI, I'll call them and I'll let you see what happens when I call the FBI. So extreme locations like that, they want to degrade and violate. They want to make it sting that you even tried to get help from them.
1 minute.
I guess it says as safe as it'll get.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, are you in a safe place to talk?
It's as safe as it'll get, ma'am.
Okay. Before we get started, is it possible that I can get demographics, your age and gender?
Sorry. I can't. You want me to take you off speaker? This is the only way I can communicate, ma'am.
For confidentiality, we don't like to be on speaker. And can I get the state and city you in?
Dallas, Texas. She's muted. I see they don't want me on speaker because they're committing a crime.
This is the first time reaching out to the hotline.
So I used to listen to them, but they know I'm recording. No, I've called. In fact, I want to do a complaint because I've called for years and they've been sabotaging assistance. They've been rude, deprived me of the services you provide. We're not honest. Denied me of safety planning for years. No one has ever done safety planning. And I had to look on the site, ma'am. I had to look on the site and see what you offer because they weren't honest. And they give me referrals to places that aren't really significant for my situation. The government is enlisted in my abuse. As I told the last operator that the police department shut down a whole domestic violence rally and actually assaulted me at New Beginnings in Garland, Texas for attending a support group.
So that is out of our scope of practice with the government in the police department.
Okay, so I've called the National Domestic Violence Hotline, and you are not equipped when the government is enlisted in the domestic violence? Or when police officers?
We deal with intimate partner domestic
It
violence.
is a stalker. It is a stalker. Is there a referral line that can help me get assistance when the police are involved?
I'm not sure. What I encourage you to do is maybe reach out to your city mayor or the senator here.
Okay, so are you depriving me of services on this hotline as you've done years?
What I am telling you is...
What's your name, ma'am? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? It is a stalker that's setting it up. What's your name, ma'am? Is that why you wanted me off speaker? What was your name? You don't want me to have your name, ma'am? She hung up. So let's call the FBI scammers. Years. That's why I knew. So now they're trying to con and say that they don't help, which they haven't been years. I asked to speak with a supervisor. Okay, this is what the FBI investigates, just a short amount of things. Cybercrime, I have that going on. Counterintelligence, Civil rights, I have that going on. Public corruption, I have that going on. Organized crime, I have that going on. Violent hit and runs, then someone was killed. I don't know what's going on there. White collar crime, I have that going on. Okay, that's just a few of the things that they investigate. And I have a multitude of these things going on. They also had the hacked email, the phone thing that's going on with me calling scammers. They investigate all that. So let's see what happens when I call.
Office of the FBI. If this is an emergency,
It sounds like the real location.
para español,
This is how I think people get scammed out of funds.
If you know your party's extension, you may dial 9 at any time. If you're calling to report a possible internet crime,
I put to register a complaint.
Hello. Thank you for calling the FBI. This is not a 911 service.
So the United States is depriving me of all law enforcement in all avenues, which is criminal. It is a crime.
On an FBI case currently highlighted in the news, an action or threats to national security, press 2.
I'm reporting a threat to national security because their behavior is not safe for anyone.
Please provide the zip code of the area you are calling for representative.
The government enlisting parties to commit crimes, lie and slander someone and set up arrest, I don't think it's safe when you get that corrupt. Enticing businesses to be conspirators in your
thank you
crimes.
for calling the FBI. May I have your first name, please?
Yes, it's Kiana Clark.
Okay, can you spell your first name?
I have a new tip
Okay, and
and a
that was
complaint.
Keyana, last name Clark,
That's correct.
Clark.
That's correct.
And may I have your date of birth?
That's correct.
And is that a home, work, or cell phone number?
Cell phone.
And then I have the zip code that you entered as 75237. Is that correct?
Okay, yes.
And what is the federal crime you're calling to report today?
Oh, okay. I'm glad that they took it off the system because I called and they said that you are not able to call the FBI. So, yes, so there's public corruption. Let me go down the line of the things that you have. Is there a supervisor? I want to do a complaint because there's cyber crimes.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
So I'm not able to transfer you to a supervisor, but can you tell me what's occurring?
Okay, so there's a cyber crimes. Okay, the FBI, all locations is depriving me of law enforcement. All avenues of law enforcement is I'm deprived of that out of corruption. There is civil rights violations. There's a conspiracy to violate civil rights crimes. I go to a multitude of locations and they deprive me of services, even down to the extreme of purchasing food and water and shutting down domestic violence rallies. I'm deprived of services at CPS, criminal trespasses all over the place to enforce that my civil rights get violated. I've been blacklisted from hotel stays. Police have
You have
tamed
already
me.
been advised to stop calling the FBI. This call is being terminated.
It's sick. They taunted. They wanted me to think, it's sick. So I've been going through this years. You get an idea of my experience. They hung up and put in that recording, you've been advised to not call the FBI. They wanted to taunt, to make me think that they were actually going to help. And then when it got too real, the report, then they transferred. That's criminal. That's a felony crime. That's tamper with evidence. You just witnessed a crime as a multitude of other crimes that has happened. As the FBI, you can't choose to not take a report because it's too incriminating. That is a crime. But they've done it for years with no consequences.